Speaking of people who resemble prominent figures, Maxwell Marlow has often been compared to Jacob Rees-Mogg in looks, but not always in outlook. Maxwell is with me now. A very happy New Year to you. He's Director of Public Affairs at the Adam Smith Institute. And on a very serious note, Maxwell, the poor are getting poorer under Labour. UK's most affluent households faring best under the government.
Absolutely. Well, Happy New Year, Peter. It's good to see you again. So there's some new analysis that's come out from Retail Economics and the Centre for Policy Studies, which shows that since the government came in, 2.1% is the amount of cash that the poorest households are doing without. So it basically means that all of the new budgets that have been put in, all of the big tax rises, they've hit the poorest the hardest. The richest are doing fine. Since the Labour government came in, their spending power has gone up by about 40% or odd. But again, it is the poorest. Time and time again, we tell the government, if whenever you put up taxes on anything in the economy, you end up having a tax on the poorest, because if you tax a company, if you tax shares, if you tax assets, it all means that essentially companies can't bring prices down on their goods. And who pays the most in shops and for services? It's the poorest. They're not saving, they can't invest, etc., etc. So therefore, whenever we're looking to raise money for the state, we see those taxes go up on the poorest. It's a tale as old as time, and no one ever listens. But unfortunately, it is absolutely true.
Tell me as well about some of the research. This is a Centre for Policy Studies that you just referenced there, one of the think tanks in Westminster. They have done the sums and say that if you're an earner of something like if you have a household income of £50,000 a year, which a lot of people do, the average salary is of course about £36,000 a year. But if you two people working in the home, you may well have £50,000 or more. Those people are going to lose out about £500 a year, whereas people on welfare will be better off, and crucially pensioners will be better off as well. It's interesting, I'm sure you've read this article by Paul Ovenden, who is a former Director of Strategy to Keir Starmer as well, saying that he thinks the triple lock should be abandoned and that Keir Starmer should have the determination to do that. I always find, I don't know if you're in this position, but I often find people in the think tank world like yourself who are free to say roughly what they want, people who've left government, people who aren't government ministers anymore, people who don't have to make the decision, are often, or ever likely to be in a position where they make the decision, often say, oh yes, we've got to scrap the triple lock. But find me the politician who will go into an election saying, oh yeah, by the way, those people who always vote in huge numbers, pensioners, we're going to scrap the triple lock. The fairness aspect comes into all these numbers, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely right insofar as, people like me we're essentially just, interested parties. We look at lots of research, lots of numbers, we do lots of calculations. There is a consensus across the board, really, with any think tank on the left or on the right or even down the middle. The triple lock is too much, it's too egregious. So, for example, if we look at the CPS's own calculations, we find that, if you take forward the Labour government's idea of the quadruple lock, which is that, if your only income when you're retired is from the state pension, by the end of 2030-31, you will be better off by £537 a year. And I think that's really important because, unfortunately, pensioners are not as economically active. Indeed, if you look at an economics textbook, they're not seen as economically active.
Well, they can't work, most of them anyway.
Exactly.
And that's the point.
And this is the thing. So for the avoidance of doubt for, talks, listeners and viewers, and, I'm on your show quite a lot, I'm aware of where people stand. The state pension is a qualified benefit. You have to pay in for a certain number of years through national insurance in order to qualify for it. But from that point forward, it's a standard benefit. If you read the Pensions Act, which is, the latest iteration of how the state pension is set out, in Part 1, Section 1, Line 1, it says this Act creates a benefit called the state pension. So unfortunately, it is a benefit. So, we need to be looking at those sorts of areas where we can start cutting. And, you've mentioned already universal credit. The Conservatives and Reform have both said they're going to come for universal credit. And the only politicians who said we should have a think again about the triple lock is actually Richard Tice in the Reform Party, which is interesting because if you look at who wants to vote for reform, a lot of them are pensioners.
Yeah.
If you speak to people like my grandmother, for example, and I've just been out over Christmas, we're actually discussing this quite a lot. She's very politically involved. She likes reading the news and watching great shows like Talk. She said, I'm actually completely okay with the triple lock going because I know that you're paying for it. My grandson, her grandchildren are paying for these benefits. And she doesn't
Although
feel
if you're a
that's
pensioner
right.
struggling on an income, you know, you may well be very, very grateful for it. Well, listen, I'm delighted that both you and your granny watch this programme, and a very big hello to her. Maxwell, thank you. We'll talk more, I'm sure, in 2026. Maxwell Marlow, their Director of Public Affairs at the Adam Smith Institute.